For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the Insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. This is Derrick Evans. It's another day in America's new golden age, and the Democrats have decided once again to double down on stupid, so we've got the Schumer shutdown looming.
Yes, we do. And, you know, it is going to be the Schumer shutdown. They're going to own this 100%. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on. We really appreciate it. I read all the comments. And if you're watching live, hop in the comments. I'll do my best to give you guys a shout out. Kind of like this. We got Dan Dreyer in the Rumble chat. And we got Sean over here in the Getter chat. And I'm sorry, I'm just now getting the X chats up and running. So if you've already commented, comment again because now I've got it up. You guys have a great day. We're going to have an awesome show.
We were in a deep discussion just before going on air. But before we get to all these serious stories, man, I got a video I want to play for you guys that Derrick sent over to me yesterday. Alina Habba uncovered the fake White House set. Sorry, give me 1 second to fix this, and we're going to run it. I just want to make sure I don't kill everybody's eardrums first. I forgot to check how where the volume's at on this. All right, guys, watch this. This is unbelievable.
Guys, I just finished a show. Look at the room that they put me in. We're in Biden's fake Oval Office, everybody. And I've actually figured this out. I now know why. I now get it. Turn the camera around. There is a screen, teleprompter to the face. All I can say is the last administration was a disgrace.
Yep,
well,
the video didn't play properly.
Yeah. That's what happens. I don't check all these things. Sorry about that. But you guys heard the audio and saw the image. This is our fake Oval Office desk in the set for Biden. So they could film things whenever they wanted and then put them up later. But take 100 takes. I wonder if they had his ice cream dispenser just off screen to incentivize him to get through whatever garbage they wanted him to deliver.
Yeah, and the whole thing, I mean, literally, it looks, I mean, I posted on my X if you guys want to watch it. It is truly looks like a Hollywood movie scene is what it looks like. It is a fake Oval Office that they constructed that, it was obvious that's where they were conducting a lot of the interviews, if you will, and press releases, which doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why you wouldn't just go to the real Oval Office. Why would you go to the fake one, number one? And then number two, I don't understand why they were dumb enough to leave it intact. I figured that if they were going to do something like that they would have it torn down before, the new administration came in, and they just left it there for people to find it. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird to me.
Well, I mean, they could have moved it to his basement, let him live out his remaining years, believing he's still president, just like he believed he was president after they installed him in the White House. But, that's all falling apart. Sorry, go ahead.
Before we go, I've got I'm going to give a shout out in the X chat to Kristen and Dom. Dom has the best comment about this fake set. Dom says they had his diaper changing station on the set.
Yeah, it was probably also just off screen. Yeah, we heard from I think it was an anonymous Secret Service agent the other day saying that they literally carried around basically the equivalent of a diaper bag for Biden all the time, not just to change his Depends, but it had his I don't know, his meth and whatever else to hype him up, the syringes of whatever super juice they devised for Biden to take so he could appear competent for brief periods of time.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When we get into some of this other nonsense, we got a story we're going to talk about tomorrow. It's even just more ridiculous. You guys won't even believe it. But let's go ahead and jump into our first story here. Schumer shutdown looms as deadline nears. Like I said earlier, the Democrats have appeared to just double down on stupidity. I don't know how they think they're not going to get blamed for this when the CR has passed the House. They stood in the way of that. And let's keep in mind, like, this CR is the same one these guys voted for back in, what was it, December?
They did, and just in September, I just saw a video. Actually, I posted, I shared it. In September, Chuck Schumer stood on the House floor, on the Senate floor, and gave this big speech. So did Bernie Sanders, for the record, about how a government shutdown was unacceptable, how it was dangerous, people with Social Security it would cause chaos, and that they should do anything and everything they can to avoid a shutdown. This is in September of this past year. We're talking just 6 months ago or whatever, 7 months. I mean, not that long ago. And now here they are, just nope. And it really goes to show, I think, that, and prove the point that we've been saying for a long time, is they hate President Trump more than they love America. But I think that's pretty easy, because I'm truly starting to believe that the Democrat Party just hates America. I really mean that sincerely. I think that years ago, both parties loved America. They had different ideas as to what they wanted the future of the country to look like, or how to achieve that, but so there were some differences, obviously. But I really do believe that the Democrats from the 80s and the 90s, like I do think that they were patriotic, that they loved our country. I don't think that our current Democrat Party loves America. I truly think that they hate and despise everything that America and the Constitution stands for. And they don't really care about anything other than destruction and chaos at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this really becomes more and more apparent when you do see, like, interviews, excuse me, with Democrats that were more prominent during that time period, like Dennis Kucinich. He can't believe where the party is. And, in the 90s and early 2000s, everybody kind of took him for a wacko. He had some far out there ideas. But when I watch these interviews with him now, like, he can't believe where the party's going and how many things they do that are will cause direct harm to Americans, or how many times where they defend criminals or invaders or other things. Like, again, there's a lot of policies from Dennis Kucinich that are insane, but, at least I don't think he hated the country. I think he's wrong about a lot of things, but he clearly loved America, clearly loved this country, made a lot of sacrifices, and, it was a difference of opinion on certain things, but they didn't want to destroy us. And when the time came, we've talked about this before, when the time came to all come to the table, support the president, regardless of who was in office, both parties used to do that when it was something that was obviously for the common good, whether that was protecting Americans overseas or being held hostage, or retaliating after a direct attack on Americans, or even just other common sense things that we all needed, whether this was disaster relief, sending FEMA in after, a hurricane or an earthquake or something. Everybody used to come to the table, but that's not even an option anymore. And again, the fact that this is essentially the same piece of legislation they all approved before, and it was going to be our fault as Republicans if we didn't pass it. And now they're willing to just stand there as a roadblock and prevent this. I mean, like I said before, I think President Trump needs to get out there and say, hey, if Schumer wants to shut down the government, that's fine. But you know what? We are going to do back pay for military soldiers, but no other government employees. This is going to be a vacation for them. So we're not going to do back pay for any other federal employees.
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad idea. I'm going to give some quick shout outs here. We got FG and Obliviously over here in the Getter chat. We appreciate you guys. In the X chat on my account, we've got A1 Fox Sound, Ethos, Deborah, Lawrence. What's up, Lawrence? Thaddeus. Appreciate you guys all for tuning in. In terms of the government shutdown and the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, Pocahontas, all these people, threatening a shutdown. I'm over here and I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time. Like, I want the government to shut down and never reopen for that matter. So like, I'm here for it. This is not a threat to me. I would love for them to shut down the federal government, and I couldn't care less if they ever opened back up. I mean, at the end of the day, think back. When is the last time that these elected, politicians in D.C. have been in there pushing buttons to vote for things that were going to actually benefit the American people? I don't know the last. Every time they push a button, we as American citizens are losing in some way or another. So as far as I'm concerned, shut it down, and I don't care if they ever show back up and push any more buttons again. Return all this power, or as much as possible, back to the states, and show everybody that we don't need the federal government to begin with, because most of the things that they're doing are unconstitutional. And most of the things that they're supposed to be doing based on the Constitution, they're not doing anyways. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here for it. Shut it down. I don't care if it opens back up or not. And I'm over here laughing because, only President Trump could convince these radical left-wing extremists to think that that shrinking the government, even if it's just for a few days, is a good thing.
Oh, exactly. Well, and here's the other thing that these retards need to remember is it's going to be President Trump's team that are in charge of determining what is and is not essential and will remain in operation during this shutdown. And anybody that continues to work through any departments like that, they should get paid as normal. But everybody else that's a federal employee, again, this should be looked at as a vacation. No back pay, no anything. We need to put maximum pressure on the Democrats and their supporters in D.C. to pass a budget, to pass the CR, and reopen government. So, but during that time, I think if they handle this correctly, the average American won't even have any idea the government's been shut down, as long as Social Security checks are going out on time, as long as the VA remains open, full service. If a few things here and there get shut down, or departments, hey, if we shut down and bench everybody at USAID, I guess no more money can go out to wasted causes here and abroad.
Oh, darn. Oh, golly, shucks. That would be terrible if we couldn't do. That's what I'm saying. Like, these people never push buttons that benefit us. I'm sorry. And for the record, I said it on yesterday's show, I will 100% be impacted by a government shutdown because, I have rental property, and some of them, most are not, but there are a few of them that are, on the Section 8 rent. And I don't like that, for the record, but it was an opportunity to help a good family who was in a hard spot and happened to have that voucher. So I'm not going to get paid, and I don't care. I do not care about that at all. Shut it down. And then maybe look around and realize that most of the things that we're funding are probably not that essential anyways, other than, the military and a couple other things. And at the end of the day, most of the issues in our country right now, regardless of whether you're on the left or you're a conservative or wherever you fall, it's somewhere in between. Most of the problems or the issues that people are complaining about comes back to the fact that the federal government has gotten too big for its britches. That's what it all comes down to. The federal government is way too big, and are doing things that is not the role of the federal government, if you will. And then because of that, the few things that are the role of the federal government, securing our border and those sorts of things, they haven't been doing those things. We are now, thankfully, under President Trump, but it just goes to show you that there needs to be some radical change. And for the record, I voted for this, and we've talked about it on the show. As we go through this, especially the early, I would say the first year or so of these drastic changes and the trade wars with these other countries, I've voted for every single thing that's happening right now. For the record, but we've talked about it on the show multiple times. There will be periods of potential hardship in our country as we go through this, and that's going to be expected. We've been doing the same thing and getting ripped off for decades, if not generations at this point. And to make that radical change, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows at the very beginning all the time. I mean, it is so far, but I hope that the American people have accepted the reality that, especially with this trade war, some of the things, maybe it's your favorite random thing I can't think of, maybe it's one of your favorite things to buy at the store or whatever. It might go up significantly in cost because it's imported from another country. So be it. Don't complain when that time comes. Try to find an American alternative. I think back to the last time under President Trump during the trade wars, I was in the middle of flipping a house, and the price of these drywall screws went way up, and everybody was complaining about it. And then I started looking, I started paying more attention, and I found a company that makes these drywall screws somewhere in the middle of America. I think it was Iowa or something. And yeah, it was like $3 more for like a big box than what I was normally paying. And I was thinking, I was like, why is everybody complaining? I would gladly pay $3 more for the same thing. To know that I'm helping to put food on the table of a fellow American, as opposed to paying for some probably child slave labor in another country so that they can make more profit. So this is a good thing. It might be some short-term, pain for long-term gain, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the way we got to look at it, too, is these things are ultimately going to help us in the long run and stabilize things here, and also centralize more power here, take it away from countries that hate us, including those that are supposed to be many of those that are supposed to be our allies. But yes, I just don't see how Chuck Schumer thinks he's going to win this bet. I know they're hoping their propaganda machine in the media can spin it that somehow it's Trump's fault and the evil conservatives. But again, when they're in control, everything is their way or the highway. That's how the media reports it. So we just got to remember, once again, these people are so fake and disingenuous. This is literally the same CR they voted for before. And now they can't be, they can't, they've got to be held accountable for now, basically holding the country hostage to make a political stand. But, this isn't the only big scandal or big story we got to talk about. So let's jump to this, because this is just breaking now. And this is yet another example of why the Democrats can't be trusted with anything classified. Obama briefing memos, sensitive foreign conversations forwarded to Trader Joe's private email. So while Biden was the VP, he was getting sensitive and classified documents getting sent to his personal Gmail account, as well as daily presidential briefings and other things. I wonder if any of these were in those 1,850 boxes of 1,850 documents and all those boxes he was storing in the garage with his Corvette.
Yeah, if you guys can, just email that over to therealjoebiden@gmail.com, and I'll check it out there. What the heck, man? This is crazy. And once again, I mean, most major companies, especially if they're like a tech company, they would never allow you to, like, if you worked for Apple or something, they would never want that sensitive company information, to be in a private email. And that's just a private company. Imagine, the vice president of the United States of America doing this and thinking it's okay. And, part of this, I believe, is just ignorance. We've got, no offense to older people, but we've got a bunch of geriatrics out here attempting to run our country right now. And I think some of this is sheer ignorance on their part, and such as this. I'm not saying he wasn't doing it, maliciously, but there's a lot worse things he could do maliciously and has done maliciously to our country, I believe. I believe this was just sheer ignorance, but it really still proves the point of that. And, unfortunately, on that same note, America has turned our White House and our Capitol into the world's most expensive assisted living facility. But that's another topic for another day. But yeah, I can't believe there's not more people talking about this. I do wonder what kind of sensitive material was put over there. And moving forward, it should be a crime to do that, so that people. It already is. Well, then they need to be charged for it. I'm sorry, but he does. They need to charge him and prosecute him for it.
Well, and everybody else that facilitated this. Yeah, there's a reason that Biden staffers during his term referred to the White House as the Oval Hospice. And it's because, the guy wasn't there. He was already checked out, and they all knew it. And that's why they were using this auto pen to sign all these bills. But yeah, so Obama's team was knowingly doing this. There's plenty of people that need to be investigated and charged. We also need to find out how long was this going on, because it doesn't sound like this was somebody, he was on vacation somewhere in some low-level level staffer send him the daily briefings and whatever else is attached. Again, that would still be illegal. They still would have known better than to do this. But at least then it was somebody making a mistake or somebody just being ignorant or whatever. But this appears to have been ongoing once again. Why is it over and over again we keep finding Democrats with classified documents, illegal email servers, and other things, from Hillary Clinton to Anthony Weiner to Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and then numerous others. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. John Podesta. But we see this over and over again. And what makes it even worse is Hillary Clinton was the co-sponsor on the bill that modernized this system and set all the rules and procedures in place for how classified documents were handled with email servers and in government electronic databases. So we know these people knew better. They chose not to do it because it was inconvenient for them, and they know there won't be any repercussions. So that needs to change.
Dude, I just saw an awesome comment in the chat here. First, shout out to F Corruption. Can't say the word on here. A1 Foxhound says the DOJ needs a laxative, and I have to agree with that 100%. That's exactly what they need right now is a laxative.
Yeah, well, we need to come out and start real investigation, real charges. I'm tired of seeing low-level nobodies leaving handcuffs and all the other people participating in the major crimes, the major corruption. Nothing happens to them. So, yeah, I mean, I know we need to give them a little bit of time, but I'm ready to see somebody of consequence actually frog marched out for doing something illicit that we've all known about for months, years, whatever, and there's never been repercussions for it. Guys, we got to take a quick break, hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Thank you for staying with us. And yes, right now you can help support our program, all the programs here on Ex American News, and Mike Lindell's mission to get our country free and fair elections again, to end this corruption, end this fraud at the local, the federal level. He's spent millions and millions and millions of dollars of his own money in this fight, and this is something simple that you can do to help support Mike Lindell, support us, and get some great products for your house. Get yourself a set of My Pillows if you don't already have any. They're amazing. They have multiple levels of fill, so you can get what's comfortable for you. And he has a gazillion of other great products over there that are again, fantastic way to support a patriot and support us here, from sheets to towels to my personal favorite, the slippers, to coffee, and numerous other products from American manufacturers on mystore.com. Just use code Insurrection. It'll get you the maximum discount, and again, it'll help keep us on the air, bringing you the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Well, like our next story here. Let's see, what else do we have to dive into this morning? Oh, yes. Yeah, well, once again, Zelensky shows he's not serious, says Ukraine will not recognize any territory occupied by Russia. Well, he said he was ready for a ceasefire yesterday and then proceeded to fire a missile into Moscow. And Putin has also responded. Putin rejects U.S. temporary ceasefire plan, appears in military fatigues. So essentially what Putin said during this meeting is Ukraine and Zelensky are not serious. And they're the ones that need a ceasefire a lot more than Russia does. Right now they're advancing, they're taking more territory. They continue to be dominant militarily, despite the billions and billions and billions of dollars that we've sent Ukraine. We know much of that's been laundered. We know they've sold missiles, automatic weapons, and other things that we've given them to cartels, to terrorists. I mean, the whole thing is just completely dysfunctional. It's against America's interest to continue funding this war in Ukraine. We've already made that known that all weapon shipments will be stopped. We were going to return aid now, but hopefully that's off the table again, since he's once again sabotaging any prospect of peace.
Absolutely. Shout out to Kelly Song over here in the Rumble chat. Appreciate you, Kelly. It's always good to see you. Look, this whole thing is beyond frustrating. So, from a standpoint of just, a Christian and wanting to do the correct thing, I love that President Trump is continuing to beat his head against the wall, if you will, and attempting to negotiate peace with a very tough situation where, quite frankly, I don't think either side is ready for it right now. And I think a lot of this has to do, too, people are forgetting that the illegitimate Biden regime really fanned the flames between the election and President Trump swearing in. They really escalated things over those last few months on purpose in an attempt, I think, and we talked about it on the show. I said it then. I believed that they were doing anything and everything they could to muddy the waters even more, to make it that much more difficult to negotiate peace. And then the media, as they were doing, was going to spend the rest of the time, no matter what President Trump accomplished, they would say, oh, he's a failure because he promised to negotiate peace and he didn't. And that's what they're doing right now. And so we talked about it on the show and kind of discussed that moving ahead. When it comes to Zelensky, as you pointed out, he said, a ceasefire, I could agree to a ceasefire, pushes the button to launch rockets. Now I will. Sorry, they're already on the way. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, what a jerk, man. Who does that? And then, Putin, it's hard. You have to look at this from both sides and try to be objective. And unfortunately, the people who put the Ukraine flag in their bios and all this stuff, they are blinded with their hatred of Russia. And it's fast. I get it from some of the older people because, they grew up putting their heads underneath the desk in school, during the Cold War and stuff. Yeah. I get that somewhat, but I don't understand the people who are my age and younger who have this hatred of Russia for virtually no reason other than the media told them to. But you also have to look at this from the Russian perspective, whether you like it or not. They have sacrificed and lost men and women as well to gain that territory. So if they were to if you're Putin and he's supposed to be putting Russia first, that's his job as the leader of Russia, to willingly just give that territory up, and imagine your son or daughter died helping to secure that territory, then you're sitting there and you're like, they died for nothing, sort of thing. And so you have to look at it from that perspective. Now, from the quite frankly pissed off American taxpayer perspective, I'm at the point where I'm ready for President Trump just to say, we're not sending a penny. We're not lifting a finger. We're not going to share any intelligence. You guys in Ukraine are on your own. If Russia turns you into a giant parking lot, then so be it. Russia, I don't care what you do to Ukraine, as long as you don't go beyond those borders, we're good. And just sit back and just say forget about it. We're going to focus on ourselves. I know that's not realistic. But I'm saying there's a part of me, if I'm being 100% transparent and honest, there's a part of me. It's like that's where I feel. That's how frustrated I am with this whole Ukraine situation. And quite frankly, our American politicians putting Zelensky up on this pedestal, stealing money from the people of North Carolina who are homeless and sending it to Ukraine, the people who were there from the flooding and not helping our own people. They're the ones that has drove me to the point of even a small part of me feeling that way. And I shouldn't feel that way because these are human beings and these are human souls who are being slaughtered right now for the profit of the globalist, military industrial complex. But that's how I feel, at least in some aspects. Am I the only one that feels that way sometimes?
No, I don't think so. At some point, I think we've got to say, I think you brought up a really good point. At some point, we do need to say Zelensky's chosen to allow Ukraine to just be absorbed by Russia, because if he's not willing, he's losing this battle. There's no denying that. And at some point, he has to negotiate, even though it's with Russia, it's with Putin. He might not like having to cede this territory, but that's the reality of the situation that they're in. They weren't able to hold off Russia. They made these advances. And again, we're mostly talking about territory that was already in dispute with the Ukrainian government. They had basically a on and off civil war going on with Russian speaking portions of their nation. And unfortunately, a lot of this is due to stems from U.S. interference going back to 2014 and Barack Obama. But regardless, this is where they're at today. There is no other path for Ukraine, and he's only going to continue to get more people killed if they don't come to the table and reach some sort of an agreement. But I don't know that he can. And I think the rest of these psychopaths in Europe, they clearly want World War III. And I guess if they want to get into it and they want to fund all this themselves, we're just going to have to leave NATO and sit this one out and watch them all get decimated.
Yeah, well, Kristen over here in the X chat brings up a really good point, and I haven't really heard it phrased this way, and so I think it's awesome. She says, any leader who is not willing to end a losing war is a traitor to his people. And that is true. That's what they're doing right now. I mean, it's a losing war. The only reason they're even remotely in this thing right now is because all the things that we have sent them and all the help that we have provided them. And if we cut that off, there is absolutely zero chance for them to even be a speed bump for Russia. And here's Trump saying, hey, if we don't negotiate peace, we're going to cut all this off. And Zelensky doesn't care. So, I mean, that is a really good point. Also want to give a shout out to Austin the Coal Cracker and Susan Powell, Mawoff6. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, and then Disability Advocate here as well. But I mean, that's exactly what's going on, man. It's a losing war, and Zelensky is refusing to do that. And I'll tell you another thing, at least in the younger people here in America, we have been so fortunate, so blessed. I believe that the people who I'm 40 years and younger in America right now is probably the luckiest, most blessed generation in the history of the world, that we have not seen any major wars. And that's not to take away anything from Afghanistan or Iraq or anything like that. But I mean, we didn't have a Vietnam, we didn't have a World War, we didn't have any of those things. And I think because of that, some of these children, I don't care how old they are, they're a child if they're ever promoting this war and putting these Ukrainian flags in their bios and all this stuff. They are not fully grasping and understanding what they are pushing and advocating for, because they are ignorant. And I'm using the word ignorant in terms of they are uneducated and don't have a clue what they're talking about right now. And part of that is because we are so blessed and so fortunate in our generation to never have experienced that on a mass scale, which is, I mean, we're talking about 1 million people have been slaughtered over there right now. And that's not just a number on a piece of paper. That is 1 million sons and daughters. That is 1 million fathers and mothers. And it is truly sad when you start to think about that. And they're over here pushing and wanting more of it. And it's really, really sad. And this needs to be stopped immediately.
Exactly. Yeah. Zelensky's gambling with the lives of all his people and the possibility of Ukraine just being erased. But he's smart. He should be smart enough to know that. I don't know who he thinks is going to come to their rescue or continue to fund this war, but they're out of options. Well, let's turn things once again. Congress to investigate attacks on Tesla dealerships as domestic terrorism. And we discussed this yesterday. This is exactly how these things should be handled. I mean, what's happening right now with them assaulting Tesla dealerships, Tesla owners, and everything else, like, this is the literal definition of terrorism. This is using violence to achieve political means, to inflict terror upon people, to get political action. They're trying to, once again, hold people hostage because they want to have a temper tantrum.
That's exactly what it is. It's a little temper tantrum from these people. It's unbelievably sad. Got another really good comment from Connie Bevan over here in the X chat. Says, I've long been an advocate for shutting down NATO. As long as NATO exists, there will be no peace. And I have to agree with that 100%. And then Obliviously says, that they need to feel bad if they don't volunteer over there. And that's a good point. You got the Krastensteins, the Harry Sissons of the world, all these little twerps over here in America pushing this war. And it's like, you're more than welcome to go over there and volunteer and join the front lines if you really want to do that. You have senators who are going over there, virtue signaling and doing all this stuff. Send your son, send your daughter over there, or just shut up at the end of the day, because that's where it's at. Like, I'm so sick of these virtue signaling people wanting to do that. And then furthermore, we can cut off the funding. Zelensky can open up a GoFundMe account. And if you want to take your income after you've been taxed to death for all these other things, and you want to donate your personal income to Zelensky to go buy him another yacht or another mansion or something like that, then be my guest. Yeah, go ahead and do so. I don't want them stealing my money and going over there and paying for this junk. That's where I draw the line. If you want to send your own money, I'm not going to stop you. I have way more important things to do with my life than to worry about what you're doing with your own personal money, but stop stealing mine and sending it over there to fund this war.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd rather reopen trade with Russia and be on good terms with them than have Ukraine on the globe still. That's of less concern to me. I don't know what we get out of Ukraine or anything else, and I do feel sympathy for their people. But at this point, I'd much rather normalize our relationship with Russia and help drive a wedge between Russia and China. I think that's ultimately more important and what's good for the American people. And at this point, well, I don't want to say anything about the Ukrainian people, since, they haven't been allowed to have elections, and I hear Zelensky's at 4% support, but unfortunately, they're hostages under this dictator right now, and until that changes, it's only going to be more death and more misery for Ukrainians.
It is, and it's sad, man. Once again, this is not. And in addition, forget all of that over there. Just from an American taxpayer standpoint, why are we sending hundreds of billions of dollars to another country? I don't think people fully understand. So, like in rural parts of this country right now, there are still hardships with the EMS services, for instance. There's not enough of them. There are people who are waiting way longer than they ever should in America for an ambulance to show up when it's necessary. And I say all that to say, at the same time, we are funding the salaries and the pensions of the first responders in the Ukraine right now. Your tax dollars are paying for that, while we have American citizens who are going without. This is unacceptable. Even forget about the war and everything else. Like this is what we mean when we say America first. Like, I don't care about any other country in terms of sending them money to help fix their water or cure some disease. I really don't. You can say that's hard. You can say that's cool. I don't care what you think about me for saying that. I don't care when my country is $36 trillion in debt. My own neighbors and family members and fellow citizens, my fellow Americans, are struggling and doing without right now, and you're stealing money from us to allegedly send it to another country. But as we found through USAID and everything else, a lot of this money is being laundered back to the exact scumbags in DC who are voting to do this to begin with. But I don't care if every dollar is going there. I don't want a penny going over there until if we have a $36 trillion surplus and all of the infrastructure issues are settled here in America, I probably still wouldn't want to, but I'd at least be open to having a conversation about helping other countries at that point. But until then, I don't even want to have that conversation.
Yeah, agreed. And actually, let's go ahead and just take our next break a minute early, and then we're going to be right back to dive into some of the judicial warfare that's been ongoing that we're all watching every day. So guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs on Ex America News is by supporting our sponsors. Annie Cyrus is a huge part of what goes on here at Ex America News. She produces a bunch of our shows. And again, without her help, we wouldn't be able to bring you a lot of the programs that we're able to show every day here on this network. And again, they're beautiful, one-of-a-kind, handmade pieces. These are, heirloom quality gifts. Grab one today. It'll be something you treasure and will pass down in your family to future generations. Guys, let's dive into all this just lawfare. Judicial insurrection. Radical leftist judges wage all-out war against President Trump. 119 legal challenges in just 2 months, more than double any U.S. president in history. And a part of what makes this so sick and so sad is both the disruption to the progress that the American people voted for, and they know better. They know a lot of these lower court judges either lack the power or cases have already previously been decided that grant the president the authority to remove the people that he has or stop funding or call for investigations. But no, these courts, and again, they're allies in the media. If we had even remotely honest journalists, they'd be telling you the same thing, that, oh, this will never stand. Move it the minute this case moves up to a higher court, it's going to get dismissed. But no, they cheer it on, and then they pretend they're shocked when Trump ends up with a victory once it moves up to a higher court.
Man, I'll just go ahead and tell you right now. These activist judges are the greatest threat to the future of America right now. There's no question about that. As you pointed out, Trump's had 119 legal challenges during the first 2 months, which is more than double any other president in the history of our country. These activist judges are seriously the greatest threat to the future of our country. Something has to be done about this. I don't know what we're going to do in this regard, but it's an entire culture and mindset amongst this subset of people, this group of people who call themselves judges, that they believe that they have more authority than the sitting president of the United States. One of them literally just said that President Trump was not allowed to revoke security clearances from the law firm that that did the Russia collusion stuff. I mean, how can a judge tell the sitting president of the United States of America that they are required to give a security clearance to anyone? Period. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's the president of the United States of America, and if you respect that position, not the person, but the position of the president of the United States of America, if you respect the seat of the president, you would never in a million years think that you had the authority to tell the president that they are required to give security clearances to anyone. This is a major issue, and it's got to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed head on. And we got to stop playing patty cake politics with it. We've got to stop pushing that to the back. Like, to me, this is probably the biggest priority that needs to be addressed right now. This needs to be an all hands on deck. Let's go ahead and try to combat this today. It might take 3 to 4 years to make any headway on this. We need to get started on it immediately.
Yeah, agreed. And when it comes to decisions like this, like to continue Perkins Coie's security clearance, even though again we know they've mishandled this previously, working with Clinton and numerous other cases, but the president clearly has the power to revoke security clearances at will, spelled out already. So when a judge makes a decision like this, I think that we're at the point where you just ignore it. Be like, oh, well, your court lacks the authority to make this decision, so we're just going to ignore you. This didn't happen. It doesn't matter that it did. And actually, you know what? We're going to refer you over to the House, and hopefully they'll have the courage to impeach you. Because sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm ready for them to start arresting some of these judges. I'm dead serious right now. I really, if you're going to tell the sitting president of the United States of America that they have to give up national security clearances to people who have already proven they don't deserve it, I'm sorry, there has to be some sort of crime that has been committed there. I'm sick of all of the talking points, of the mean tweets, of the strongly worded letters. Somebody let me know when there's somebody who grows a backbone and is willing to go in and arrest these people. That's where we're at. It's time to start. It's past time to start making arrests on these people who hate our country and are attempting to destroy America.
Yeah, agreed. Well, you remember when during Trump's first impeachment, when you couldn't even say the name of the whistleblower, Caramello, and they were protecting Vindman, everyone else, keeping it secret. They did everything they possibly could to keep these people's names out of the media. Well, I guess that's a one-way street, because one of our favorite judges, Tanya Chutkan, judicial tyranny. Radical judge Tanya Chutkan allows state attorneys general to unveil the names of Doge employees. So again, she's giving them a path to dox people. And make no mistake about it, this isn't for any legitimate legal fight or anything else. It's not to expose the corruption. It's to put pressure on the people that are uncovering all their slush funds and money laundering. It's to try to do direct harm to the employees at Doge that already need amped security and everything else, because these just rabid leftists are literal terrorists in the streets going after these people, because it isn't going to just be doxing them and going after them there. It's going to be continued harassment. It's going to be showing up at their house with a bunch of blue-haired moon bats at 3 a.m. Protesting just to torture them so they can't sleep or anything else. It's going to be pounding on their front door. It's going to be more swattings. It's going to be whatever else they can come up with to terrorize these employees.
Dude, if you really sit down and think about how evil this is of Judge Tanya Chutkan to do this, it is crazy. So she ruled, as that they could or that she ruled that they could release the names of the Doge employees, which had been protected up to this point. But this comes at the same exact time while these terrorists, and that's exactly what they are attacking the Tesla shops and everything, all because of Elon Musk's work with Doge, as we know. And then you also have to remember that a lot of these Doge employees are young. I know they're technically, over the age of 18, but they're young kids still. I mean, that's what they are. And I think about, having to deal with this stuff at 40, 50, 60 years old. And imagine, having to deal with this stuff at 20, 22, 24, 25 years old. Not only that, probably half of their friends probably hate everything to do with Doge and don't even know these people are involved with it as well. Not to mention the violent, and probably some of their family members too, for that matter. But not to mention the threat to their personal security and safety. And so now when these names are released, you're gonna have 20-some-year-olds who are going to have to either find security or look over their shoulder or go to sleep at night wondering if their door is going to get knocked in or their home's going to get burned down from these terrorists who are doing this to these things. And Judge Tanya Chutkan did that, and she did it maliciously because she also hates all the work that Doge is doing, and secretly she wants these Doge employees to be punished in some way or another, and that's why she's doing it. It's pure evil on her part to have the audacity to do something such as this.
No, this is the modern left, and this is how they act when they're cornered. They don't get their way. They want to break all the toys and burn the building down before they exit. And they don't care who gets hurt or killed or harmed in the process. That's completely inconsequential to them. All right, well, Trump signs executive order cracking down on radical activist judges and far-left groups abusing the courts. Demands to pay court costs to stop frivolous injunctions costing taxpayers millions. And again, he's exactly right. This is uncalled for. It's unprecedented. Most of these, the vast majority of these injunctions are try to stop powers that the president clearly has, whether that's firing employees or preventing information from coming out that should be kept private for the Doge employees, or other lawsuits demanding he keeps spending money that's getting just shoveled into a blast furnace, spending our dollars, our tax dollars that they steal from you and I out of every single paycheck.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's funny that you don't see President Trump use an auto pen on these executive orders. He signs it in front of the entire world and announces it for the entire world to see. There's no worries there about whether he actually did it or knows what's going on or any of those sorts of things like we had to deal with under the illegitimate Biden regime. But this is common sense to me, that if you bring a frivolous lawsuit and you lose, then you should be required to pay back those court costs of the people that you forced into this situation based on your nonsense, basically. And because what's happening is you got George Soros with all this money. They could come after one of us, for instance, and have unlimited funds and just bankrupt you, and then you win. And it's like, well, I spent all my money and I'm homeless now just so I could prove that I was correct to begin with. And they should have to pay back all those things. And then in this situation with President Trump, some of the things that some of the lawsuits they're bringing on him, it's we, the taxpayers, that are forced to pay back all those court costs and the legal fees and all of that. And the George Soros funded groups should be the ones that pay back the taxpayers for all the money of ours that they wasted bringing this nonsense to the judge to begin with.
Yeah, leftist tyranny through abuse of the court needs to stop immediately. We need to put the brakes on this, and we need to start holding the judges and the people funding and financing this accountable any way that we can. Because again, this has to end, because government can't move forward like this. If the Republicans had the courage to actually weaponize the courts and use them in a similar way against the left, their buddies in the media would be screaming from the rafters. It'd be the only thing we ever heard about, and they know it. So this has to end immediately for our country to actually be able to move forward. Well, somebody else facing legal trouble because they're destroying documents, yet another leftist. Josh Shapiro's office says key emails in sexual misconduct case were deleted despite retention laws. So once again, they can't respect the law, hold on to documents or anything else. And again, it's in a criminal proceeding. Where's the left on this? This is a sexual misconduct case. Shouldn't they be demanding answers? Shouldn't they, whatever happened to Me Too?
Yeah, well, really quick, I'll just say that to me, during that time of the Me Too, I don't know what made me think of this, but the hashtag was still something that I would consider a pound sign. So I used to laugh because they were basically saying pound Me Too. But anyways, that's childish middle school on my part, but I can't help it. But no, you're correct. And Shapiro's another one. Shapiro's dangerous. Let me just tell you guys that right now. And the reason Shapiro's dangerous is he is a radical, just as radical as Gavin Newsom or the rest of them, but he has been smart enough to present himself as a moderate, and it comes across that way. And he is very dangerous to me in a 2028 election or even a 2032 or whatever moving forward, because he is a radical who can convince a lot of the people across the country that he is a moderate, old school Democrat, if you will, when he's not. And that's what scares me about Shapiro.
Yeah, definitely a wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, speaking of Gavin Newsom, we've also got this. Fool's gold. Newsom forced to borrow $3.44 billion to provide Medicaid for illegal aliens. You hear that, residents of California? A lot of your property is still smoldering and smoking, but he's not looking out to get money to help you guys to rebuild, and also not implementing policy that'll prevent the next fires. Instead, he's worried about continuing to cover medical care for people that have invaded our country. So California, it's good to see that you've chosen your priorities, and this is what you want to do, is saddle your future generations with yet more abusive taxes, since you guys already pay some of the highest rates in the country, if not the highest rates in the country. But yeah, he's once again picked foreign invaders over U.S. citizens.
So I did a quick Google search. Don't quote me on this. This is just a quick thing. The Hoover Institute says that the California's debt is $1.6 trillion. Most other things that I'm reading here is saying that it's around $500 billion. Let's go with the lower number of the $500 billion, just for the sake of argument here. California is at least a minimum $500 billion in debt. And they are borrowing another $3 billion to fund Medicaid for illegals. Once again, this would be terrible if they had a $500 billion surplus. They have a $500 billion debt in the state of California, and they're borrowing more money. And who are they borrowing this money from, Mike? Did it say? I mean, who is loaning California over $3 billion to pay for Medicaid for illegals? Who's loaning this? Do we know?
No, but I guess they're pretty stupid. But then again, I guess whoever it is will be a tax write-off or whatever.
Unbelievable. But I mean, I don't understand. And I know there's a lot of really good, strong conservatives in California. So I'm not speaking to you guys directly when I say this, but to the lefties who continue to vote these left-wing extremists into California. As I watch some of these things take place in California, I have to sit back and be like, you're getting what you deserve at this point, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. But I do wonder, is it possible that President Trump can deport enough people from California to make it a swing state? I mean, California was historically a red state before Reagan came in and gave amnesty to all these illegals, and then it instantly went blue and has been a blue safe state ever since. I've been wondering about that. And then I also wonder if they can do something about the upcoming census. I know it sounds crazy, but it's only 5 years away on the next census, in terms of preventing them from counting the illegals in that census, which helps give them more congressional seats as well. So there's a lot to do here with this. Gavin Newsom, he's another dangerous one. He's launching that podcast right now, trying to rebrand himself as a moderate, at getting ahead of the 2028 election. But just remember, Tucker Carlson, who's been around a lot of these people for forever, said that he believes that Gavin Newsom is a sociopath, because he has the ability to look you right in the eyes and tell a lie to you without batting an eye or sweating or stuttering or anything else, because that's how cold he really is. And we need to keep reminding people of that as Gavin Newsom tries to rebrand himself as a moderate.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder, when I look at this money they're going to spend on Medicaid, I mean, I hope they included in this legislation sex changes for illegal aliens, because how else are they ever going to get the gender affirming care that they all need? Well, guys, I do want to remind you that Dem Rep Jasmine Crockett claims entering the country illegally is not a crime. So, I mean, these are your thought leaders on the left. These are the people setting policy and indoctrinating your children with these just lies. But they're never going to learn. I do have some good news, though, too. Apple allows you to report illegals in real time and earn cryptocurrency. This is brilliant. I already liked how they turned Biden's CBP One app into the new self-deportation app. I think that was a brilliant move. But this app, which is at it's iceraid.us, is an app that will pay you in cryptocurrency for reporting illegal aliens. So I don't know if they have this available for download for Android or iPhone yet, but man, I think this is going to get put to some good use. But unfortunately, I think you'll also probably have a lot of leftist trolling on here making false reports.
If this is all true and accurate, which I mean, I know that it is, but I mean, if they actually do this, as they say in the crypto world, to the moon, baby. I hope this thing skyrockets, because there's so many illegals getting reported and getting out here. Jasmine Crockett is a joke, to say the least. I think she's trying to battle AOC to be the dumbest person in the House right now. One other thing I wanted to say about the CB1 app that they converted over into that. They also, when they converted it over, it automatically updated for the people who had that on their phone. It automatically told them, go, if you self-deport and through this app, you can self-deport and then you will still be allowed to come back to the U.S. the legal and proper way, as opposed to the other people who are going to be banned for like 20 years from doing so. But a key thing that I haven't seen a lot of people discussing, because I read up on this not before last, a key thing I haven't seen a lot of people discussing about this is they also, is just a very small thing, a statement from Tom Homan or somebody within that administration anyways, that got overlooked. It said that they can use the data from the original app that that Joe Biden had rolled out to track these illegals for deportation purposes. So they've got that app on their phone, following them around, tracking them everywhere. And they're going to be able to use that moving forward to turn around and go get these people, to know exactly where they're at to deport them. So I think that's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, there are no free rides. I also like how when the CBP One app updated and changed, it's now the CBP Home app. They threw that little H in there and let everybody know where they're headed, back to their country of origin.
That's exactly right. That's awesome. Well, Matt, I know we're out of time here. Just wanted to see if I had any more chats to clear, but I don't see any. But thank you guys for hanging out with us, and really appreciate you guys today.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a fantastic guest joining us tomorrow. You'll actually be able to catch his program here on Ex America News beginning today. With Peter McIlvaney joining us from Hearts of Oak out of the UK. We can go learn about how their country is self-destructing in real time right in front of his eyes. But he'll be joining us tomorrow, and you'll be able to pick up his program beginning today here on Ex America News. Again, guys, thank you for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear.